Hey. What's up, dudes? It's another day. Another day. Haven't coded in a little bit, and I'm so close to finishing. Why don't I finish? Ooh, it's been 4 days. Yeah, as I have gotten closer to finishing the project, I have coded less and less. And it is what it is. But here we are, 6:30. We're gonna do an hour. So let's go ahead and get everything set up here. And I think we're at the last section in the save logic refactoring. So we're doing save logic load state part 5, associated logic in save logic.py. 6/16 is the date. The last time we coded was 4 days ago. We did continued going through second final pass of save logic load state function to implement load logic associated with master save object list. We stopped at line 334 in save logic. So let's go over there to line 334. Alright, so this is where we stopped. Let's see, so we have elif classification ID is equal to 2. That's for card lists. This is for meld list. So in this case, let's do a quick review. We do actual meld list equals self object access or set adder from string function, passing in the object name, and that gives us either the object or it sets the adder. And it says this returns the actual card list from the global namespace. And this should actually be meld list, i.e. P1. Like melds is an example of that. Let me say for list in object value, we iterate through the meld list. Okay. So we have the actual meld list, which is object access or set adder from string function. Let's go up here and look at that function real quick. Oh yeah, let me set my timer. I forgot to set the timer. We've been going for 3 minutes, so we're gonna set it for 63 minutes. 64, same difference. All right. See if my the audio is working here. Yep, audio is working. Alright, let's go ahead and post that. Alright, there it is. Alright, back to work, dude. So it takes string object name, saver load string, value equals none. Says below function change saver load string to be called get or set string instead to reflect the fact that sometimes we want to use get adder instead of set adder for loading. More accurate naming. Make the string args be G or S for get or set instead of S or L for save or load. Let's go ahead and change that real quick after we quickly review what this does. So we pass in the string object name, and then save or load string. Oh, so we have to pass that in. I don't think we passed that. And that's going to be changed to get or set string. So let's go right here. Change this to get or set string. Find this. And we're going to replace... Okay, so this is going to be get or set string. If get or set string is equal to S, and we want to change this to be G for get, and then set should be S. Set. So this is G for get, S for set. Okay. And now we have to find where this function is called. And in this case, we have for save state function, we grab the associated object via object name key, which is the string form of the object name. And what are we doing here? We are retrieving the data. We are retrieving... Let's see, what are we doing here? We're retrieving. So we want to do get, because we do object data. And then what do we do with it? Else. Wait a second. I'm like, what? Where do we use... Okay, so we iterate through the object data. Gotcha. So this iterates through the retrieved data. Okay, I see. So this is right. Yeah, this is right. Use sub-object access for set adder from string function. Okay, so this does need to be S. No. It needs to be G. G for get. G for get. Ooh, almost fucked up there. Yeah, G for get. S for set. Before it was S for save. So it was a little confusing there. Caught the mistake. That would have been a bug. Alright, then we have in the load function, we do object accessor, object name, then we're going to pass, we were doing load. But what do we actually want to do here? Well, in this case, I think we want to set, because we're not using the returned value, and the returned value is for if we're using get. If we want to get the data, we would use G, and then set the returned object to a variable. But we're not doing that. We're doing we're setting, so we would do S. So we'll say sets data. And let me just make sure I'm doing this right. For object name blob and cursor execute select. Yeah, and we're setting it to the value from the database. Yeah, that's what we're doing. So that's correct. Okay. Now we have classification ID is equal to 2. actual card list equals self.object access or set adder from string function, passing in the object name. If classification ID is equal to actual card list equals self object access or set adder from string function. So this returns the actual card list from the global namespace. IDP1 hand. Okay, that's true. So yeah, it returns the actual card list from the global namespace. You say actual card list equals self object access or set adder from string function. So this needs to be G for get. Yeah. It returns the actual card list from the global namespace, i.e. P1 hand. And then we have number 3 here, actual meld list. So this needs to have G as well, because it gets. Because it's returning. Yeah, it returns the actual meld list. So we're not setting it, we're getting it. Okay. Now we're back over here. Remember that this implies perfect order. Determine how to... Okay, so this is where we left off. Alright, we got this straightened out. Actual meld list equals self-object access. So it returns the actual meld list using object access. And then, let me just make sure that works correctly. Passing in G. So we get parts equals... We already reviewed all this. So object equals sysmodules main, that's global namespace. Iternum equals 1 for part in parts. Parts is the string object name split into 2. So if it's P1 melds, it would be P1 and then melds. So we have those 2 parts. Then we say if iternum is equal to 1, then object equals getAttr object in part. So the object here would be the global namespace, and then you're grabbing p1 from the global namespace. Then iternum is set to 2. We're iterating through parts again. So now part would be hand in this case. So then we go else if get or set string is equal to g, which would it be set to g? I think it would be set to g. Yeah, in this case, yeah, it's for get. And then we say object equals getAttr p1 and then hand. So we're getting from p1 the hand. And then if set get or set string is equal to s. Oh, this is wrong. Ooh, this is wrong. This is supposed to be g. If get or set, that's crazy. I went back and reviewed this. I wasn't gonna. I was like, I just looked at this, but then I felt the need to look at it again, and look at that. I had it messed up. If get or set string is equal to g, so if get or set string is equal to g, then it will return the object. So let's go down here. Why is it showing this? What did I open up? I must have hit a button there. And then init can be minimized. Okay, so this will properly return the object since we have g pass. So we have the actual meld list. Now we're iterating through the actual meld list. So we're going to change this to say, wait, it's iterating through the object value. So this is actually iterating through, what is object value? Why do we say object value here? Object values from the database. Okay, so this is actually iterating through the database itself. The database value. So for listen object value, this is what has been retrieved and deserialized from the database. At this point in time, this is data that came from the database because it's loaded and it's been deserialized, so it's actually, okay, it's a skeletonized version. That's right. Okay, I see now. It's a skeletonized version of the meld list. So that's what object value is. And we should probably clarify this to be called we should change the name of this because that's kind of ambiguous. It should be DB loaded object. So now let me make sure this is correct. So for let's see, for object name blob, db loaded object. Deserializes the object. Then we pass in the loaded object because that would be directly set. Then for number 2, we iterate through the ID in the loaded object, which would be a list of integers, so that's also correct. And then here for 3 we have actual meld list, so we already reviewed that. We're iterating through, so actual meld list here, this is would be like P1 melds the object itself. And what we're doing here at this point, P1 melds would be empty. So that now we're iterating through the DB loaded object, which would be the deserialized meld list from the database. So we'll say deserialized meld list from the DB. So this would be deserialized and skeletonized. Iter through deserialized and skeletonized meld list from the database. If actual meld list dot ID is equal to 1. Okay, yeah, because we're using the ID there, and that should return, yeah, we did check that. The custom append list has an ID attribute. Let's see where. So def init self ID is equal to none. If car group name 0 to 2 is equal to P1, self ID equals 1. Okay. So then we know we're dealing with P1. And now we need to determine how to properly create the inner custom append list instances dynamically using the info from card group name. So we're iterating through the loaded object, which is the deserialized and skeletonized meld list. So it's a list of lists of IDs. And now we have the actual meld list, which would be p1.melds itself. So as we're iterating through the DB loaded object, this is for list or for meld. Let's see, for this should be meld. For meld, say for meld in DB loaded object. So we need to change for ID. Let's change this to be meld because that's more proper. For meld, iter the deserialized and skeletonized meld list. For ID in meld. Inserts at the end of list to be in proper order. Okay, that one might need to remain as it were. All right. So for meld in the DB loaded object, if the actual meld list ID is equal to 1, we need to create the inner list, and the inner list must be of the same name as the custom append list. Right? So if we're dealing with the p1.meld, doesn't the custom append list itself have the card group name? Yeah, so we can just use the card group name. We can just use the self.cardGroup name, and that is the actual we don't have a comment on what the card group name is. I want to say that the dot card group name is the full name. Let's see, that card group name equals. Why is that showing 77? Oh, I know why. Hold up. Okay, I know how to search for this. We need to go to setup, and so we say name equals. Yeah, so it does indeed have the P1 or P2 prefix. It has the entire name. So let me add that to the comment because it should be included there. Okay. So we can just use, yeah, the card group name. So we don't even need the ID here. We just would use the actual meld list dot card group name. Yeah. Yep, that's what we needed to do. Self.card group name of the custom append list. So we don't even need the ID at all. So for each meld in the DB loaded object, this is going to be the deserialized and skeletonized meld list. We create the inner list as a custom append list instance with the actual meld list dot card group name. Yeah. And honestly, couldn't we just use the object name? Like, isn't the object name itself gonna be... Yeah, the object name is directly P1 or P2. So we could just, we just use the object name. We don't even need to use the card group name. So I'm an idiot. Let's go back over here. So this would just be object name. Yeah, because the object name, yeah, it's the exact same thing. So there we go. That's easy. Uses object name to assign card group name of inner list. I mean, and that's very self-explanatory, but oh well. Inner list equals custom append list at the object name. We have the actual meld list. We insert the... So we are inserting into the actual meld list the inner list. That's right. Okay. So at the end of the list, which at this point it would be empty, so we're iterating through that deserialized skeleton. So this is a list of lists. So we're at the first list. We create the inner list using the object name, and we haven't imported custom append list, so I think we shouldn't do that. That's why it's white. So we need to import custom append list. So we'll say from custom append list, import custom append list. We'll call it DB meld, because this is kind of confusing. So we have meld, so we'll call this the DB meld. There we go. So we're iterating through each meld in the database meld. We create the inner list. We insert the inner list into the actual meld list. And then we iterate through that meld. Remember, this implies perfect order of card group dict aka ID. Okay, and then we say card object equals game card group dict at ID. But we don't actually, where do we get the ID from? Okay. Right, so the ID is in the database meld because it's skeletonized. Okay, correct. So that gives us the card object. And then we say actual card list insert. Wait, that's not right, is it? We're supposed to insert this into the inner list, because the inner list is to contain the card objects that we inserted into the actual meld list. So we're iterating through the DB meld, so we're handling each database meld, which is a list, and that's the integers. We create the actual custom append list inner list, then we insert it into the actual meld list. Now we need to populate the inner list with the actual card objects. So we would say inner list insert at the length of the inner list, because we want it to be at the end of the inner list each time. We would insert that card object. So now inserts the card object at the end of the list to be in proper order.
When spring comes, I'm leaving town. I'm going to Midgar. I'm going to be a soldier. The best of the best. Like Sephiroth.
Yeah, so that's right. So we have iterated through the DB loaded object. We insert the inner list with the proper custom append list object name into the actual meld list. So it goes from an empty P1 melds to having an empty list, and then we iterate through the DB meld and convert each ID in the list to a card object, and we insert the card object into the inner list, which is already inside the P1 melds, and we do that for each meld through the for loop iteration, and that should populate the list properly. So when this is done, like, that's it. Boom, done. Easy. Okay, we finally finished that. That took way longer than what I wanted it to, but it's done now. So needs to be converted from card format to skeleton format. Only pertains to game card group dict as of 6/4/25. So this is elif classification ID is equal to 4. Alright, so what do we need to do here? So this is the last one, and all we have to do is we need to convert from card format to skeleton format. Instead of saving, we would be saving, this is not for saving, this is for loading. So this handles game card group dictionary. So it needs to be converted from skeleton format to card format. Logic must be added for this. So convert from ID. Yeah, so it has to be converted from skeleton to card format. Convert from ID. Card X, card Y, card display layer. Requires iteration through the master deck. So first off, we need to retrieve the data from the database. So we would do this the same way that we did this. We would say actual, what would this be? This would be, we'll just call it the DB card group dict equals self object access or set adder from string function object name, and then we're gonna get it. So we're gonna get the object from the database. It exists in the form of a it's a dictionary, but each ID is the key, and then each associated value is a tuple of the X, the Y, and the display layer, right? Yeah, so we need to do... We have the card group dictionary. Now we're going to iterate through it. Well, no. That's wrong. This is the actual card group. Actual card group dictionary. Then we're going to load... Well, we already have the loaded object, right? It's called the DB loaded object. We already have that. Yeah, so for object name, blob, and cursor, the DB loaded object is already deserialized. So we would just say right here, we'll say for, this would be for key in DB loaded object, because this is the card group dictionary from the database. Yeah, so let's do this. For key in DB loaded object, iter through, deserialize and skeletonize card group dict from the database. Okay, so as we iterate through each key in the database loaded object, we want to convert from ID card X, card Y, card display layer to ID card object, but we also have to set the X, Y, and display layer. So why do we have to iterate through the master deck? Doesn't the card group dictionary... Must change code and setup so that the mapping of ID to card object happens prior to shuffle. Okay, so I thought that I could... Does the card group dictionary already exist at this point? Yeah, because this happens after setup, right? Doesn't this setup happens prior to loading? So if setup happens prior to loading, then the cards already exist. Like, they're already created in the card group dictionary. So we're not actually populating the card group dictionary. What we're doing is we're assigning the let's see. So we have create card, create double deck. Yeah, so this creates the card, and then we do add each card from the master deck to the card group dictionary. So that already has happened. We don't actually have to like create the card group dict. The card group dict is already created. What needs to happen is we need to assign the X, Y, and display layer for each card in the card group dictionary. So we don't actually have to iterate through the master deck. We can literally just access the card through the card group dictionary. Because the ID, let's think about this. As it is saved, the actual card group dictionary, when it gets saved, the ID, since we're going to modify the code in setup to always have a static assigned ID for each card, like the 2 of hearts is always going to be card number 1. The 2 of diamonds is always going to be card number 3. The 2 of so on and so forth, 2 and 3, 4. It's going to go in the same order, 1 through 108, and each card is going to be mapped to the same ID. Whether it's this version of the game or it's a new card group dict, they're still going to be created in setup in the same exact order with the same exact ID. So all we really need to do is grab the actual card group dict, which we have done through this line right here. It is already populated with the cards with the same ID as the DB loaded object. So they're a 1-to-1 as far as card ID 1 refers to the 2 of hearts in the new one, and then in the DB loaded card group dict, the 2 of hearts also refers to card at ID number 1. So the only thing we actually have to do is we have to grab the each. Basically, we can iterate through the card group dict because it will iterate in the order of the keys. So it started at 1, so on and so forth, right? Wait, are dicts ordered? Or do we just access it through the ID? Yeah, dicts are not ordered, are they? I can't really remember. That's like a basic thing, but I'm a Python. Dicts are not ordered unless you have an ordered dict. I don't think they're... Yeah, Python used to be unordered, but as Python, they are guaranteed to preserve iteration order as part of the language specification. So the insertion order is preserved, but it wasn't guaranteed. Insertion order is preserved when iterating. So if you do D equals A1, B2, C3, if you print D, it will always be A1, B2, C3. And if you do D at D equals 4, and then you print it, if you print the list of D keys, it will always be in the order that you inserted them. So since the keys in our case are the IDs, which is 1, and it goes in that order, 1 through 108, if the insertion order is preserved, when iterating, calling keys, values, or items. So if you use a for loop on the dictionary, if you ever need guaranteed order accessing it across older Python versions, but for modern Python, the built-in dict is ordered. So we could just use a simple for loop then. So we would actually say for card in and what would we iterate through? We want to iterate through the DB loaded object. I guess that's more proper. So iters through the loaded DB card group dict. So for each card in the DB loaded object, we would assign each card an ID and add to card group dictionary. Assign each card an ID and add to card group dictionary. Yeah, we don't actually have to do that. That's already done. So what we really have to do is assign each card's XY display layer. So for each card in the... Wait, let's see. For key and DB loaded objects. Yeah, I already had that. And we need to assign each card's XY display layer from the tuple. So that would be done like this. We'll say for key and DB loaded object, actual card group dict. So this is the actual card group dict at that key. So we're just going, like, we're iterating through the DB loaded card group dict. So it's gonna grab, that's gonna iterate through each key, right? So when you iterate through a dictionary, it iterates through the keys. So the key would be the ID, the integer. So then we're gonna say actual card group dict at key, which is at that card's ID for the actual card group dict, and then we're gonna say actual card group dict ID. This is the actual card, so we're gonna say actual card equals that, and then we're gonna do so this grabs actual current card object from actual card group dict. And part of writing these comments is to it's sort of like you're saying the same thing twice, but it's just to make sure you got it right. So it might be like, why do you make a comment that says exactly what it does? Well, it's like a review. It's a mental review. It's just like, it's a double check, you know? There's really nothing wrong with it. Like, who cares? If most people don't read the comments anyway, so it's nothing to trip about. So if your key and DB loaded object, actual card equals actual card group dict at the key, so grab actual current card object from actual card group dict, and then what do we do? Well, now we're gonna say actual card dot x equals the DB. Well, what we need to do, actually, hold up. We need to, let's see, we'll get the tuple. So we'll say loaded, say DB loaded tuple equals DB loaded object at the key. So iterating through the loaded object, each key has the value, which is a tuple. So we're grabbing the value, which is the tuple, grabs associated tuple consisting of .x, .y, .display layer. Display layer underscore. So this is I don't know why I'm writing it like this. It's because of the way that I document things, but really it should just be like this. Grabs associated tuple consisting of X, Y display layer. So actual DB loaded tuple. Okay, then we have the actual card. Now we're gonna say actual cards.x is the DB loaded tuple at index 0, and then the actual cards y is going to be the DB loaded tuple at index 1, and then the actual card dot display layer equals DB loaded tuple at index 2. So the actual, let's just review here. Let's get rid of all this shit. I think we got this right, guys. Let's change code instead of the mapping of ID. Yeah, this is true. So I do need to like make sure we do that. I already have that to do. Anyway, so else, which is elif classification ID is equal to 4. Let's read the comment. Below section classification oddball needs to be converted from, or that's right. It's a converts databases card group dict entry from a tuple consisting of, or converts DB card group dict key equals ID val equals tuple entry from a tuple consisting of .x .y .display layer to assign each actual card from the actual card group dict. The actual card group dicts .x .y .display layer. Converts DB's card group dict, which is the key equals ID, val is equal to tuple, entry. Yeah, that's an entry, or whatever, from a tuple. From tuples, tuple values, or tuple key values. From tuple key vals consisting of XY display layer to assign each actual card from the actual card group dict's XY display layer. There we go. That's a better comment. And then so we say else equals elif classification ID is equal to 4. That's correct. We get the actual card group dict through object access or set adder from string function passing in the object name, and then G, which will return the actual card group dict. This is why you review everything, because you always forget to change some minor stuff. Returns the actual card group dict from the global namespace. In this case, it would be game.cardGroupDict, I think. Let's see, it's in setup. Yeah, game card group dict. Now we're iterating through the DB loaded object. For key in DB loaded object, so for each key in the DB loaded object, which would be the deserialized and skeletonized card group dict from the DB, that's iterating through the keys, which would be the IDs. We then say for each one of those, DB loaded tube is equal to DB loaded object at the key, right? So that's the skeleton data, which is the tuple consisting of the XY display layer. That's correct. And then we have actual card, which is equal to actual card group dict at key. So this is grabbing the in-game card, not from the database, at that particular key. Those cards are going to match each other because it doesn't change. It's static every time. So actual card equals actual card group dict at key. That's correct. And then actual card dot x is the going to assign that x val to the DB loaded tube at index 0, which is the x val. And then actual card dot y is equal to DB loaded tube at index 1. And then actual card display layer is DB loaded tube at index 2. So XY display layer. And yeah, that's it. So we did it. Done. That took so long. Like these last two. I felt like I was just... We did it though. We did it, dude. It's fucking done. Like, this is it. I finally finished this. I've been working on this feature for so long, guys. And we actually finished this shit. Today is the day that I can actually say I finally finished this shit. Fucking high five, bro. High five. Pat on the back. Pat on the shoulder. Fucking give yourself a hug. Fucking firm handshakes all around, dude. Like, we did it. Yes. Finally. Yes, dude. So this is not like the end, you know, we're not completely done, but this was a big step. Fucking right, dude. Yes, we did that shit. Proud of myself. Oh, finally. Long time coming. But all right, so let's go over here to devlog, open that up. Well, actually, let's go to things to do real quick. So finish logic for reconnect load data. Finish function load state from save logic. Uses comments. Yeah, so we did that shit, bro. Boom. Done. Let's knock that out on our to-do list, boy. 6:32. Well, we're not completely done, but finished going through second final pass load to implement. Yeah, like this is the final pass. I'm not even putting the second. That's, well, we do have to review, so there's gonna be some like mistakes that I made, so I'll just leave it like that. Okay, so now let's go back to things to do. Review logic associated with serialize and insert function. Determine whether to use self cursor or the context manage dbcon from the context in which the function is called. Determine whether to use self-cursor or the context manage dbcon from the context in which the function is called. Okay, guys, I'm just gonna be straight up. Today we're done. I'm done. I'm not fucking with this. But like, it's 7:30. I gotta like take my sleep medicine anyway. But so that's gonna be it. All right. So 7:30. We'll just say 7:37. So we just did 1 hour, which is fine. That's really all I gotta do per day. Like, it's better to do like 3 hours, but if I just do 1 hour every day, that's really like enough, you know. So we need to make sure we're in the root of the project directory, which we are. So we're going to get branch to see which branch we're on. We are on the correct feature branch, so we're going to do git add. And then, so we do git add, we're going to get commit-m. We're going to paste this in. Alright. There's our dev log. 6:16:25, 6:37:37, 1 hour, 6:37:34, 7:35, 7:37. Now we have our commit successfully committed, 4 files changed, 34 insertions, 39 deletions. We're going to do git push to the remote GitHub repository up into the cloud, and that is done. Now we can go over to we'll do, I forgot what I was doing for a second. Projects, Canasta. Now we have to copy this one. We back out, we go to backup, we delete this one, paste in, there we go. So let's go into text, devlog, we'll go all the way to the end here. There we go. So we have the proper backup data in there. We just need to rename the backup folder to reflect today's date, which was the most recent backup. And yeah, so we're done for the day. I just want to say, guys, this is very hard. I'm so close to the end. I'm so happy to be done with this. We have basically nothing left. I can't actually believe this, but if you look here at the these current issues, like I'm not even, lots of these are basically nothing burgers. You know, there's lines there, but it's not much. It's like 5-10 minute tasks, you know, simple shit, or shit that doesn't even really need to be done that we might not even do, depending on how I feel. But what we do need to do is this little list right here is review logic associated with serialize and insert function. That's going to take about 10 minutes. Database master save object dictionary. This is the object order review. That should only take us about 10-15 minutes. Game card group dict setup, logic modification, must change code and setup so that mapping of ID. That's another like 5 minutes. Card group name dict after load state call. Ensure that we add a line which reassigns the custom append list card group name dictionary. Let's see. Card group name dict after load state call, very important. Ensure that we add a line which reassigns the custom append list card group name dict immediately after the load state function call upon reconnect in client by. We need to add this because this dict must be reassigned at some point after reconnect, and since each card group in the dict is individually saved loaded. Oh, this is a different dictionary. This is a card group name dictionary. Gotcha. That's easy. That's fucking simple. Add code which sets reconnect bool equals true. That's also simple. That's going to be like 15 minutes max. Add smart logic to only save data if it's been changed from value of last save. That's also another like 15 minutes. Add save state function. Call in client pi. Need to add this function call at the beginning of the main while loop. So we have save state function. What is this? Add save state function call in client pi. Need to add this function call at the beginning of the main while loop. Okay, that's another 5 minutes. That's just to add the function call itself. Now we have save state function, db backup func call, add in function call to this function at the end of save state to backup dbs. Yeah, this is all like between 5 and 15 minute tasks. So you're looking at, let's just say 10 a piece, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. So this is basically an hour and a half worth of work. And then we can actually like test the system. So basically next session we're going to be done and then we're going to start testing. So happy. I just want to encourage anyone who's out there struggling. Maybe they have things that they're going through. You know, life is hard. It gets even harder. It seems like it just gets harder and harder. And people People will betray you. People will change up on you. Always reflect, though, to see if you're the problem. Try to be honest with yourself. Learn from every experience, and do your best. You know, be strong. There's a lot of weak people in this world, and we need more strong people. So just do that shit. Do right, and I'll see you guys next time.